Hello.
Hi.
We were just rocking out to that countdown music. I know you guys love that.
It's your favorite part of the
Well,
stream.
It's your favorite part. You know, Elon was going to talk to you about this off stream, but I'll just mention it right now. First of all, thank you everyone for joining. What do you think about like creating like a custom like countdown intro? Like if I do like some animation and you could do the music, or we could collab, as the cool kids say on the YouTube thing stuff. Collaboration.
And customizing anything is always cool.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just yours, nobody else.
It's ours. I'm Batman. Yeah, welcome everybody to the stream. Sound off in the comments if you haven't already.
Pew, pew,
You're
pew.
here. You too someday one. Hello, sir. Or ma'am, or
He wants to be Bono.
Oh.
Someday.
Oh. Are you gonna give me free music on my iPhone that'll just show? Wait, was that you too?
Yeah, it was.
It was okay. Marv is here. Hello, Marv. Aloha. Siphonics is here. Yes, get Elon to animate something silly. Yes.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. Can we talk? Can we briefly talk about the
Silly's not my brand.
The silly SVS ad that I thought was awesome, but they didn't want? They were like, it's a little too silly, but we love it.
Oh, I mean, sure.
Well, maybe one day we'll get the go ahead to release that just as a funny blooper blopper. Joel is here. Evening, Joel. How you doing?
Joel.
And
Gonzalez.
Oh man, look at this. Medieval's here again. He was here last week from Lansing, Michigan.
Yeah.
What's up? So yeah, we're gonna
in a row for him.
I know, this is awesome. So yeah, guys, sorry we're like, I think we're gonna switch to Thursdays, right? But we're kind of playing it by ear right now.
Yeah, probably for the next month or so, while my daughter has cross country meets on Thursdays at like 3 o'clock, which I just wouldn't be able to get home in time to do a 4 o'clock stream. So yeah, probably I think it's like the middle of October or something is her last meet. So
okay.
So we'll say, you know, spooky season around Halloween. We'll probably start doing Thursdays.
We're gonna come in hot with a question really quick before we ask how you're doing. Elon, any experience with the appearing Audio Bravas 2 8D subwoofer? Do they have an 8D subwoofer?
Honestly, I think they used to. I don't think they sell it anymore. I think they only sell the 10 and the 12 now.
Yeah.
But
I gotta say,
yeah, I think they did.
Yeah, I gotta. Well, you have experience with both the 10 and the 12, right?
No, just the 12.
Okay. I have the 10 and the 12 in my possession, and I like them both. The 12 is definitely a bit beefier, bit heavier. It's actually down. You can't see it. It's down here under my desk here for the 2.1 system.
Beefy,
and yeah, that's what I use to, like, you know, when I edit videos and stuff. When my computer is not being like, hey, I'm going to eject every drive while you're working.
But in answer to your question, Marv, I have not. I've only dealt with the 12.
Yeah.
I still have two 12s in the front of my theater. So
there you go. There you go. The 12s are great. They're a lot heavier than you think they are too when you go to pick them up.
Yeah.
They have 3 drivers in them, right? Like, so 2 on the side.
The two passive radiators on the sides, and then the downward firing active.
Hey, Youthman is here. Michael, hello.
I know.
Elon, it was great to finally meet you at CEDIA. It was great to finally meet you, Elon, at CEDIA as well.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I wasn't at CEDIA.
Yeah, for like gosh, what was it, Michael? Like 20 seconds. And then you had to split. But yeah, pleasure meeting you too, Michael.
Michael. We'll have to get him. We might have to ask him if he'd like to be on one of these one day. He'd bring in the bacon. He'd bring the people in, and then the sizzle of the bacon, right?
Yeah.
But hey, look, Kevin is here. Hi, Brad, Elon, Michael.
Hello, Kevin.
Like that's
Hello.
my full name, Brad Elon Michael.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
I
It's
didn't
all
even know your middle name was my first name.
I said I was. It sounds like an actor that was on like Wet Hot American Summer or something. Michael Ian or whatever his name, Michael Ian Black or something like that. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, Elon, how the heck are you? It's been I feel like I've seen you less than a week ago in terms of live streaming because we
That's
live
because
streamed
it's
last Thursday.
true.
It's true. It's 5 days. It's 5 days.
Yeah.
So what you been up to?
Doing a whole lot of shorts or a whole lot of short form content and reels. Again, if you haven't yet, follow me on Instagram. I'm diving headfirst into Instagram reels, seeing how that goes. Every Instagram guru out there says if you want to really make your Instagram grow, you gotta post at least one reel per day. So I partnered with Acoustics. So some of the reels I take some of their articles, or at least just inspiration from one of their articles, like, oh yeah, that might be a good little blurb to talk about for, up to 90 seconds. And yeah, so that's been going well. I finally have kind of a system. Yesterday and today, I kind of chose the reels I wanted to do for the next week. I filmed them all yesterday and then started editing them yesterday and then finished editing them today. So then the rest of the week I can work on YouTube. So yeah, I'm kind of striking a balance there, and it's been pretty fun just to kind of get my mind doing something else
Yeah,
besides long form YouTube reviews or whatever. It's a totally different game, really, to
yeah.
come up with short form stuff. So it's been inspiring and tiring, but in a good way because I really like it. I enjoy making this short form stuff and trying to come up with short ideas. So
It's always trying to come up with ideas is part of the process, right? We have it. I think sometimes people don't know how much thought and just work that goes into an idea
yeah.
and executing that idea, right? Like
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm so glad to be back like working on my own stuff. Like I'm like 85% done with the Sofa Baton video finally.
Mhm.
And working on my own stuff, it's great because I've been basically working on somebody else's stuff for the past 7 months,
Right.
almost exclusively, like peppering my stuff in there, but not needing approval for something or being like, oh, I need this asset. Oh no, I obviously I can get the asset because it's my it's my videos. I'm not texting someone or emailing someone waiting for something. And it's really like inspiring to kind of get back into that mindset. It's taken me a while to get back into it. It's almost like I needed a vacation. Uh I needed to separate my like working with someone else to like me like resetting my brain to work on my stuff.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
like it's but I feel so good of like even though I'm like you and I always have this thing where I'm sure we get to we're working on a video and we get like halfway through it or maybe like 3/4 of the way through it and we're like, well, this sucks. I don't like this video. This is not good, and then you kind of step back from it and you look at it and you're like, actually, this is fine. Like this is good. Is it,
Yeah.
I try to do my best work all the time. And
Yeah.
sometimes, unfortunately, with YouTube, and Michael can attest to this too, because we've talked about it ad nauseum. Uh, quantity over quality. It's kind of the name of the game. You need to just put out content instead of maybe worrying about, oh, the lighting's not perfect or the audio quality is not perfect or something. We need to, like, basically the content is the king, and if you could add all the other stuff, it's icing on the cake. I don't know why I got off on this tangent here, but long story short, yeah, the Sofa Baton video is almost done. I am happy about that. And yeah,
Woo!
I'm going to be working on the mini DSP tutorial, because those take a lot. I think that's where I was kind of going into. It's like the tutorials take a lot of time to do.
They really do.
And I love doing them. Don't get me wrong, but it's normally 2 or 3 days of shooting and then another like week of editing those tutorials to kind of get
because
them.
because a lot of times with tutorials, you're not only trying to figure out what you're going to talk about, but also just kind of doing things on the fly while trying to simultaneously record and document everything you're doing step by step so that you can talk about it and inform people and teach people how to do something. So yeah, tutorials are like a league of their own, really.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm just laughing. Brad fired me for Muth Man. Yeah, it wasn't just you, Michael. I fired other people too. And I'm not saying no. I'm not saying no. I'm never doing that again. But unless it's local, I don't know if I'm going to be traveling anytime soon. COVID really hit me hard, and I'm like, it's kind of put me off to travel for a little bit.
Yeah,
I know it's bad, but I want to make sure I'm up to snuff on all my other stuff. And I really love for my wife to be able to like travel with me.
oh sure.
But yeah, anyway, yeah, that's kind of where I was going with it. Is the tutorials are so like time consuming, but I love doing them because it's like the outcome, like being able to help someone do something, or like achieve something that they maybe didn't think possible
Yeah.
in their theater. Like, I love the comments. I mean, I love all the comments, even like the negative ones are the ones that are like giving me some constructive criticism or something. But I love the ones that are like, I've never heard my system sound as good as it has after following this tutorial. And I hope that, I can bring that again with the updated tutorial, because I do things a little differently now than I did back in that tutorial, and kind of streamline the process. And with updates to Rumi Q Wizard, there's a lot, kind of more tools at your disposal now, or more easily accessible within REW that I think really help out a lot. So anyway, I'm excited to share that. I'm excited to do the multi-QX tutorial. That's going to be a fun one. I'm probably going to split that off into 3 though. That's there's like at least 3 different methods you can use to.
Oh, right.
So like, I think we've talked about it. And I have a personal preference and favorite of mine. But yeah. So anyway, I know that we've kind of, as par for the course, we've gotten off topic here 15 minutes in. I do want to remind people that we love that you're here. And if you have a general question, put a Q in Ask Away. That just helps us be able to see on the stream quickly what is a question. We'll star it if we're kind of in a lull in between a conversation, or it's a topical question. We normally try to highlight those right away, or as quickly as we can. And yeah, also I didn't mention this last week, but we do have super chats and super stickers. We actually got a couple super chats last week, I think. They're not required. They're not going to basically, we'll highlight your comment as soon as it comes in. That's kind of the benefit of it, but it's also an easy way for you to show your support to us. Again, not required. We try to get through all the questions that we can. But it's just a way for you to kind of support us and say, hey, I love what you do. Here's a coffee, or, here's a candy bar or something, which I like a good payday.
Yay.
Peanuts. And anyway,
both
so yeah, we Elon and I, like, we're talking about this earlier, and basically, like we were talking about, how Kaleidescape kind of fits into this ecosystem. Neither of us have a Kaleidescape, right? Like you don't have a Kaleidescape.
Correct. I
I
do
don't have.
not.
Yeah, and so the Strato V is their newest kind of foray into the market, and it's more affordable. I don't want to say it's affordable because $5,000, or was it three or $4,000?
Just under 4.
Okay, so
So,
yeah, so
yeah.
we'll just say round up 4 grand
Yeah.
is a lot of money for a lot of people. That you like, there's no way.
That's a lot for
Um,
me.
yeah, I couldn't. I don't have a Kaleidescape, but I think there's a lot of negativity that surrounds it, and what do we hear all the time? Well, I can build my own server for X amount of dollars, and it's kind of the same with everything, right?
Mhm.
You could build a PC for X amount of dollars, or you can buy a PS5 Pro or so. We talked about that last week.
Yep.
They fill different voids. It's not a one size fits all solution. Um, but we kind of wanted to talk about it because I personally use an R-Volution
Mhm.
in my system, so I rip all my own discs. I haven't done so in a while. I need to buy a drive because my drive died. And that's something we can
Ah,
talk about too.
yeah.
You are your own tech support when you do that. You need to be able to go onto the internet and figure stuff out.
True.
But yeah, I guess I kind of wanted to kick off the stuff here talking about Kaleidescape and kind of get your thoughts on like where you think they fit in the market. Um, Obviously they're like a luxury item.
Mhm.
They're rather expensive. They're not going to be in every single home theater, you know, uh, because the price of entry blocks people from it, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
$4,000 is like, 2 or 3 months worth of a mortgage payment for some people, if not more, right?
Mhm.
So, where do you think that fits?
Well, here's the thing. Previous to the Strato V coming out, the entry level price to get into Kaleidescape just at all was $12,000 to get one of their media players plus one of their
Yeah.
servers to put all your, to store all the content. Um, so that's way beyond a lot of people's wallets, of course.
Yeah.
So $4,000 is definitely a lot more attainable, but still pretty expensive. To be honest, when I first saw the price of it, I thought, "Ugh, really?"
Yeah.
Just because, like, in my mind, I was like, It's just basically like I mean, I know it's you get the mezzanine files, which are basically almost as good as master files. Um, you know, fully You get the full Dolby Atmos or DTSX experience without any compression, or at least maybe a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of compression, but not much. Um, but just leagues and bounds beyond what streaming services can provide. Netflix, Disney Plus, whatever. Um, but then I got to thinking about it. I'm like, well, it's got a terabyte hard drive in it. So you don't have to get one of their servers in addition to the Strato V. So that's cool. So it's just an all-in-one player now. Okay. So $4,000 for that. That's still pretty steep. And then started to think about it some more. I'm like, well, uh, I mean, I guess from the time I purchase the Strato V forward, anything that I happen to purchase through Kaleidescape's, you know, user interface or library, whatever, will just be a part of my library. And say I have 25 movies, um, I don't necessarily need all 25 of those movies to be accessible immediately.
Right.
so I think that's what's kind of cool about the Strato V is that you can have like your top 10 and just because most Kaleidescape files will be around 100 gigabytes. So you can fit about roughly 10 movies on the Strato V. So you could have this revolving door of your top 10, or at least maybe 10 movies that you're wanting to watch, you haven't watched in a while. Maybe you've got some new ones, you've got some old ones, just
Yeah.
some sort of hodgepodge thing of top 10 movies. So then I'm like, man, that is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, it's near well, it's basically on par with 4K disc quality, or perhaps even better than 4K quality because of certain files will be even more than what the 4K disc will hold. Because I think the 4K disc release of Avatar: The Way of Water was, I think, the first ever to be like 100 gigabytes. It's like triple layered or some crazy technology going on. But usually a 4K Blu-ray will be like 60 gigabytes, 80 gigabytes, depending on, you know, how vibrant the colors are or whatever. So, so yeah, a lot of what you're downloading from Kaleidescape is even better than the 4K equivalent. So, you're going to probably get better picture quality. I mean, depending on what TV you have or what projector you have, the Strato V does finally support Dolby Vision. So you're going to get the best picture or best HDR that way.
That's been one of my biggest complaints about the system in general is the lack of Dolby Vision support.
Hmm.
Um, for that price, it's kind of like with Samsung TVs, they don't support Dolby Vision, which I'm just like, you're paying a premium price for this. I just give me everything. Like I know that Dolby
Yeah.
requires like a licensing fee, but as a consumer, I don't really care about that. Like I'm spending 3, 4, $5,000 on your set, man. Like, give me what I want. Like give me
Mhm.
everything. I want everything. I want to know that I'm covered.
Yeah.
And that's what always kind of has bothered me about Samsung. Some people are going to say, "Oh, you don't need it, blah blah blah. HDR10 is fine or HDR10 plus." But I'm like, just it's that's not the point. It's like just give me everything. Like that'd
Mhm.
be like buying a receiver and be like, "Oh yeah, we support DTSX, but you're not getting Dolby Atmos with us." It's
Yeah.
kind of like we don't want to pay the Dolby fee. I mean, can you imagine if that actually happened on the receiver side
I know,
of
right?
stuff? Like people would just be like, "I'm never supporting you as a company."
Yeah.
Um,
Like you had to choose between Dolby Atmos or DTSX with your AVR. It's like, you can get the Dolby Atmos version of the Denon 3800,
yeah,
or you can get the DTSX version. It's be like, screw
yeah.
you.
There's a couple comments I wanted to highlight because I think they they kind of go into what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Youth Man did say that most people do not spend 4,000 on their AVR. It's still a steep price and a huge barrier of entry.
Oh yeah.
100%. It's definitely something that like I mean I don't have a $4,000 AVR. The other thing too that you can also consider with this stuff is buying used. Sometimes you can find some deals on some used stuff. I mean,
Mhm.
it's harder to find like you're not going to be buying a $500 Kaleidescape, like you would maybe a AVR from a few years ago. Um, you might luck out. I think I lucked out with mine in that I was able to buy my receiver off of a friend for $500, and I
Yeah.
think it still goes regularly on eBay for like a little over 1,000.
Oh,
So he
nice.
cut me a deal. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Um, Joel, kind of tying into their ecosystem. Um, what would happen if they go out of business? Would you lose access to the movies bought that are still on their server? And that's something we can't
That's
answer. We don't know. Like,
yeah, that's a great question.
we're seeing that in kind of like in gaming circles now, where things get delisted from a store. So like PlayStation Store, Steam, Xbox, and unless you have those games downloaded, you can no longer load them again.
Mhm.
You're kind of like, unless they relist them
Right.
under the same like ID, and then you'll like regain access to it. But it's kind of frustrating and scary when you're like, okay, well, I mean, they've been saying for a while we don't really own any of this stuff. We own the license, but if you have a physical copy of that game and you don't have you don't have to download a digital file, then yeah, you're kind of good. You put the game in, you install it, and you're good to go. Unless the game needs an internet connection, then you're screwed.
Yeah. Right.
And that's the other thing is like servers going offline for games and not being able to access those games anymore. And that, we just saw it with a big game that came out called Concord that literally did so poorly. Sony pulled the plug on it after 2 weeks, refunded everybody, and shut the servers down. Like it was such a massive failure that
Yeah.
that's like kind of like unheard of, right?
Mhm.
So on the movie side, like that's a really good question. If they delist something, like let's say they don't go out of business, but like a movie gets delisted for whatever reason, right? The studio contract falls through, or they haven't renewed the contract with that studio.
Mhm.
What's going to happen to that movie or those movies that you have from maybe, it could be like a smaller studio that was sold to another company and that wasn't factored in. I mean, there's a whole business side of it there, but you kind of get where I'm going, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you don't have it downloaded, you're kind of screwed.
Well, but even then, I mean, obviously you and I both don't have any Kaleidescape products in our possession, but
Yeah.
I would assume the Kaleidescape servers only work with Kaleidescape players. So like even if you had a ton of movies downloaded to the Kaleidescape server, I'm guessing it would only work with a Kaleidescape player. So if they go out of business, I mean, I assume it would still work unless, like you mentioned, you have to be always. I don't know. Do Kaleidescapes always have to be connected to the internet? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's only if you're downloading a movie.
Yeah, I know. I know Michael has one, and I think somebody else has one here. If they wouldn't mind chiming in, like, does your
Yeah.
Kaleidescape have to be connected to the internet to watch your movies once they're downloaded, or can you take it offline and be okay? Like, if your internet goes
Yeah.
down, right, for a day or two, can you still watch the movies once they're downloaded? It's a
Yeah.
good question.
Okay. So yeah, that's what he did say that.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, you
I
only
think
have
we
to.
I think we try
You
to
only
both
need
show
to
it
be
at the same time.
connected to download
Yeah,
because that would
yeah,
like
that
that'd
would
be
suck.
silly if that would defeat the whole purpose if you had to be connected to the
Yeah,
internet just to watch it, even if you have it downloaded. So that makes sense.
yeah. Hey, Marcus is here. Gaming Tech.
Aw, thanks.
Hey Marcus, I'm thanks for stopping by, man. I've been watching your live streams, I just haven't been commenting. I watch your stuff while I clean the house. Or I listen to your live streams while I clean the house. Um so
Thanks,
if
thanks for the
folks
two
don't know,
dollar.
right? That's Australian too. Good eye. So for those that don't know, Marcus and I we used to stream a lot together, and he's been doing more streams lately. And yeah, he just jumping in here. He does a lot of HDR gaming content, HDR best settings, things like that, HDR reviews. So go check his channel out because his channel is awesome. I think he just hit like what was it 10 million views or something like that on his channel. I think, or
Wow.
maybe I'm underselling that. I know he just hit like 40K, something like that. But yeah, thanks for stopping by,
Congratulations.
Marcus. Thank you. Um, where's that other? I wanted to highlight this here. But you were, but it kind of going. I saw this comment here reminding me of that. Jeffrey says, "Totally agree on being surprised. People are so against the 10 movie limit on the Strato V. You don't need your entire library immediately accessible.
Yeah.
Just plan your movie night at least a few hours ahead." Yeah, that's
Right.
like, not to go back to gaming again, but we don't even have to. We'll talk about the R-Volution. I have an 8 terabyte drive in the R-Volution player.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't counted how many movies I have on it. I don't have my entire library because my entire library won't fit on that. Um, but it's still like between the TV shows and movies I have on there, like there's no reason for me to have all of them on there really. Like it just
Yeah.
one of my it's nice to be able to be like, hey, what do you want to watch tonight? And we have a big selection. And normally what I'll
Yeah.
do is it's been taken from my, from a bigger drive on my network. But it's like I'll copy a file over to it just to have it locally. So I don't have to rely on my network just in case there's some weird issue.
Mhm.
But we'll watch the movie and then I'll just like delete it off of the R-Volution. Just like
Yeah.
what. But it's like, again, do you need access to 100 movies, 200 movies? It's like, no.
Yeah.
I have my little demo files that I ripped, like, a little timestamp based on the timestamps of like, the opening race scene to Ready Player One.
Mhm.
I have those in like a separate folder, so I always have access to them. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like people complaining about the size of like a hard drive on a like a gaming console or something. Which, granted, games are a lot bigger than a lot of movies these days. I mean,
Yes.
I think I just did an update to Star Wars Jedi Survivor on the PC, and it's 130 gigabytes for one
Wow.
game. So you imagine a terabyte is not
Jeez.
going to go so far if games are each 100, and you might
Mhm.
have, I think with games, you might have more. Some people play more than one game. I'm not that type of person really, unless it's just like a casual thing, right? I don't
Mhm.
need though 20, 30 games installed on my system
Mhm.
at any given time. I'm normally, on PC, I probably have like, between 3 or 4. I just like to have games downloaded. So if a friend says, hey, we're going to jump into Strange Brigade tonight, do you want to play? I want to just be like, oh, I have to download it. I don't want to have to be like that. I just be like, oh yeah, I already have it downloaded. I'm good to go.
Mhm.
So there's something to that when you're trying to play with other people, but still, yeah, there's a, it can get, it can get pretty, games can take up a lot of space. And
Yeah.
movies, I think, especially on the Kaleidescape, are no different. As you said, they can often exceed the size of what's on a 4K Blu-ray,
Mhm.
which is great.
Here's
Or
here's a question I have for Michael. Another Kaleidescape specific thing. Kind of going along with that question of having the revolving 10 movies, whatever. I mean, I get it. I understand how a lot of people will take their existing physical media collection. I mean, like for me, for example, I've got a bunch of old like TV shows on DVD, not even like Blu-ray, but like Arrested Development. I have the first 3 seasons on DVD. So it would be cool to have that, just the physical media version on a NAS or something. So I get the appeal to do it DIY like that for stuff you already are in possession of, or things that are just really old that probably aren't going to be on Kaleidescape's library. But if I'm not mistaken, Michael, I don't know if you know this. I think you do get a discount if you can somehow prove that you already own a particular movie. I think Chris, that home theater dude, was talking to me about it, but I failed to remember exactly what he said. but but I think he said that if you have the physical copy of something, you can somehow show it, or I don't know, somehow prove that you are in possession of it, and then you can get the Kaleidescape version for only like $4.50 or $5 or something, as opposed to full price. So that's that's pretty cool too.
I just
Um,
highlighted this comment because
it has to be. It has. Yeah, you too someday says it has to be in the Kaleidescape store for you to download. Yes, you do get a discount. So how do you prove that? I mean, you could just say, "Oh yeah, sure, I already own that on 4K Blu-ray." So I wonder if maybe you have to take a picture of it or something. I don't know.
I
I
know
don't
they
know how
used to
you
have
prove
like
that.
a drive. that you would insert the movie into, and it would verify that way that it's the actual disc. I'm not sure if they still do that, but
Oh.
I thought they were like getting rid of that program like that. I don't honestly, and I do know that like it's similar to how like Voodoo had their like upgrade program, where like if you had the Blu-ray, you could, you know, if you prove that you had the words are hard. If you had the Blu-ray, you could pay like an extra $5, and now you upgrade to the 4K UHD version on the stream. So I know that they have,
Yeah.
or they had a similar program to that where you could upgrade from like an HD movie to like the 4K movie. But I'm not sure. Again, I don't have Kaleidescape.
Yeah, and it's Jeffrey, as far as I know, yeah, I think they just do movies. I don't think they do TV shows
I think
for
they do TV shows. I could have
like
swore.
some of the major ones. Like I could see Kaleidescape having like Game of Thrones or something on, or
Yeah, yeah. I
like
do know
big
my friend.
tentpole.
Yeah, I do know my friend Taurus, who has a Kaleidescape, and he's been on the podcast slash live stream before.
Mhm.
He has talked to me. He'll basically use a Kaleidescape for like all of his movies, unless it's like it's just so much cheaper on his Apple TV or something.
Mm.
If it's a movie he's not really sure about, um, he'll rent it on the Apple TV, watch it there, and if he really likes it, he'll buy it on the Kaleidescape. Um,
Mhm.
but I mean, I are we downplaying people ripping movies?
Yeah, we're not
No,
downplaying it. I
I
mean,
think. I mean, I
I
rip my own
totally get
movies.
it. I totally understand the reason behind it, and
Yeah,
I myself need to do it with all of my older stuff,
yeah,
just to, you know, just to have it more easily accessible, here
yeah,
in my living room. Because right now they're just in a box gathering dust. But also he brings up a good point. Um, once I think Kaleidescape, if they can somehow get a partnership or licensing agreement or something with RO3D, I think that's going to be a huge advantage to them, especially for their European customers or even the US customers, because a lot of native RO3D 4K Blu-rays are only found in Europe. So if they somehow strike a deal, and when you're searching stuff on Kaleidescape, if you have the choice of Dolby Atmos or native RO3D, I think that'd be a game changer, because I even asked, because I got a bunch of native RO3D 4K Blu-rays from one of the guys that works at RO3D. And I even asked him, I was like, buddy, even when I review these, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get asked in the comments, like, where can I purchase these? I want to have this native RO3D content too. And so I asked him, like, when people ask me this, where can they access or where can they purchase native RO3D content and native RO3D 4K Blu-rays?
yeah.
And he even said, he's like totally honest with me. He's like, like, I don't know, because you can't exactly just access the Belgian Amazon and just start, importing native RO3D versions of Spider-Man or whatever you want.
Yeah,
So the fact that he is sending these to me from Belgium, I don't know how else you can acquire
right,
native
right.
RO3D. So if Kaleidescape somehow gave you that option and you're like a big RO3D fan, I think that would totally open up their market to people they didn't even expect. And
Yeah.
they would be like the go-to media player for sure.
This this guy's going off in the comments. I think it's hilarious that he has no idea that neither of us own a Kaleidescape. We're literally just we chose this topic. We're not ragging on anybody. We're just talking about Kaleidescape.
Yeah.
I'm
We're
like, I don't under. There's pros and cons to each. Like, whatever. we're not saying one is better than the other. We're just saying, hey, these fit different markets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
I
we're
love
having a
ripping.
discussion.
Yeah. I love ripping my own discs, but I will say it's, I wouldn't expect someone who values their time a lot. We were talking about this earlier that,
Mm.
you know, it takes me an hour to rip a Blu-ray disc.
Yeah.
Um,
4K or standard?
4K, 4K.
Okay. Yeah.
So, um, I'm not offended. I think it's hilarious that, uh, I mean, we can put whatever. I'm not offended. I think it's hilarious that yeah, you just show up and start talking about stuff. Anyway, um, oh man. Uh, anyway, so yeah, I rip my own discs, but I'm not going to expect someone that doesn't have a ton of time. I mean, it takes an hour. They can't use a computer during that hour unless you're like web browsing or whatever, So I think we talked about that earlier too, between Elon and myself, that sometimes we're I don't know, you don't have the time to like an hour is a long time to rip a movie
Oh,
that
yeah.
you really can't use your like I can't play a game on my PC in that time. Um so uh let's see here. Hold on. Anyway, so
Bye.
bye. Yeah, you can keep talking to yourself there, buddy. Um but no, so yeah, we were talking about that earlier, just having a discussion. It's like, time is money, right?
Mhm.
Like we have a lot of people that I think, I've met many people that have Kaleidescape and they're in big theater, like multi-million dollar theaters,
Yeah.
even not even that, like even if you have it in $150,000 system, uh it's still like, okay, I my like let's say my library of physical media is massive, right? Like
Mhm.
and just in 4K alone, let's say I have just 50 movies, which isn't that's a lot to some people, it's not a lot to others. um it would take, let's say, at 50 hours of your
Yeah.
time to rip that. Now, granted, you could set it to do its thing, go do something else. Like maybe you work from home and you could set it up and do it. Uh, but are you using your computer, your personal computer to do your work? Or do you work for a company that provided you a computer? So you have multiple computers, but not everybody has that flexibility, that capability to have multiple computers.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's just something that people typically don't factor in. The cost of entry, for sure, ripping your own discs is far, far cheaper than diving into Kaleidescape. You know, However, you're gonna pay for that somewhere. That's kind of like my thing. I always say is like you're eventually gonna you're gonna pay for uh, like that time, or like you're gonna pay for the lack. I can't even figure out how to say what I'm trying to say. It's kind of like, okay, you're either going to edit this movie yourself or edit this video yourself or pay someone to do it. Either way, you're either going to have to spend the time to do it or pay someone else for their time and experience to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So like the same thing kind of applies here. It's like you're either going to pay to get into an ecosystem, which, I mean, if you're okay with streaming, you can do Apple TV or whatever.
Mhm.
And you're okay with that quality, it doesn't bother you. Then yeah, you could cheaply get into something like that. However, if you want like the best of the best, and if you have a $20,000 projector and a 150-inch screen or something, you're typically probably gonna, I think that's more of like where Kaleidescape is targeting their market to,
Yeah, for
in
sure.
my opinion. It's
Mhm.
not guys like you and me where it's like, okay, we got a 77-inch OLED or a 65-inch OLED or something,
Mhm.
and um I think they're trying to kind of get into that a little more, but making their players more affordable. But
Yeah.
still, I have all of my movies backed up, which has taken me a long time, onto a server or onto like bigger drives.
Right.
So like I've got that built in, but if I looked at how much time I spent ripping discs, is that worth $4,000? You know, like would I be better off? Like let's in a perfect world, right? Let's say that all of the movies that I've ripped are on Kaleidescape.
Hmm.
4K, HD, doesn't matter. All the TV shows and stuff that I have.
Yeah.
I've spent countless hours doing this. And obviously, you know, you can figure out how you value your time. You know, if you enjoy that, cool. If not, I think if your question or your answer to that is, I really don't want to spend, you know, 400 hours cataloging my entire collection or whatever. Maybe that's worth $4,000 to you, you know?
Yeah.
So, but then obviously you buy into that ecosystem, and then you have to buy the movies, you know, which
Hmm.
is another cost on top of that. So, I mean, there's again pros and cons to everything. Uh, I think that you know, we tend to kind of shy away a little bit from talking about the ripping process because it, you know, it for the most part it's like, oh, we can do all this stuff for cheaper, but you do spend a lot of time, and you do have to be somewhat technically tech savvy to do this, right? Because you like getting a drive to rip a 4K disc is not as simple as like going on Amazon, buying a 4K drive and then putting your movie in and, you know, downloading a piece of software and doing it. You actually have to flash these drives with a firmware in order
Hmm.
for them to be able to read the discs.
Yeah.
It's simple, but not every Blu-ray drive or every 4K drive is compatible with doing this. There's a specific list that you kind of go by when you go to buy a drive, um, which I think Jeffrey earlier on had mentioned. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
His comment about make MKV.
I know it was he said he bought a LG. Yeah, there it is.
Hmm.
Brad, I referenced Two Guys Tech and got the LG drive and enclosure they recommended, and it had no issues since this February. So that may be the route I go um because basically it will kind of lost my train of thought there for a moment. The drive I had was one of the kind of slim drives. So I think longevity with that kind of thing is not that great. I mean, granted, I ripped like 400 movies with it, so I got my money's worth.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the fastest. Actually, I think I did everything at 6x, which is what is recommended.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, Jeffrey also had a great point, kind of tying into this, that lots of upfront work, time, money to get the ripping process up and running. And that's true,
Yeah. True.
right? I think that it's I enjoy it because I mean, look, I love building PCs. I love doing all this stuff. I love the DIY approach where I'm like gonna get the most out of something, and just, you know, kind of taking everything into my own hands. I've always been that type of person. But some people are not like that. And I think that that's okay. Like the Kaleidescape or something similar is, you know, for those types of people, and even something like an R-Volution um, can be a great I don't want to call it an in between because it's not really an in between. But if you're a fan of ripping your own discs and want like a more premium experience than something from like the NVIDIA Shield, you know, you can get like the R-Volution, which can also attach to your network. And I'm not like shilling for the R-Volution. I really enjoyed using the player, and I can't believe how like what I've kind of been missing in terms of like user interface and just usability
Hmm.
coming from an NVIDIA Shield uh
Yeah.
TV Pro or whatever like that. They desperately needed to update that. I think it's like 6 years old at this point. Um I think that like yeah, it's I to me that's where I want to be, is like ripping my own discs. and kind of having that control. But I see the value that Kaleidescape does bring to the table, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that's also maybe because I remember Michael mentioned that you should ask Bill or Raphael from R-Volution to send you one of the new NAS drives.
Because it connects all together like pretty seamlessly from what I've gathered.
You just connect an external drive and then rip it, and it just goes bloop right into your hard drives.
Yeah.
And it's, that same format that their user interface accepts and everything. And it's super easy.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Supposedly. Well, I'll reach out. I kind of want to get my unboxing of the R-Volution out first, since I've had the unit for like a little over a month now.
Right.
And I've been using it, but I just gotta get that unboxing video out too. I want to highlight this comment. So 7 Renew Your Mind says the ripping process is easy and there are plenty of amazing videos on YouTube to help you, and it will save you a ton of money over buying a Kaleidescape. And I agree. It is easy, but not for someone. I've started this out there. I wouldn't have my parents rip discs. They can barely work their phones. They can't turn on a computer without, without help. I think that like for people that are definitely like, you definitely do need to be able to be comfortable navigating a computer, and we're kind of in the I don't want to say in the minority. A lot of us are very tech savvy, and like I turn on my computer, my my Mac or my PC, and I have no problem navigating and finding stuff. But there are people that are just not like that, and I always tell this story because it cracks me up, and this is just kind of like how different people learn, right? I was helping my wife do something on her computer, and she was sitting there, and I was like, okay, now open a new window. Just on the desktop, like a new, like on a PC. And so she searched something in the search bar, was like, went somewhere else, and then clicked something else to get back to a new window. And I was just sitting there like, what did you just do? She's like, I opened a new window. I was like, yeah, but you went here and then back here. Like, why? She's like, well, that's how you open a new window. And then I was like, sweetheart, hit the little folder icon on the on the taskbar down there. And a new window popped up, and she's like, let me be me. And it's just like that thing where it's like, to open a new window, what do? I hit Control N, and it's just like, bam, pops up, or Command N on the Mac. And it's like, bam, I got a new window open. And it's like, I've been accustomed to doing that for so long that other people are not on that level, so I'm not saying that it's not possible, but I think everybody in the comments probably knows that once you help a family member set up something once, you are tied to them for life. You are their tech support for life. For that thing. Oh, he helped me when I had a virus on my laptop. Guess what? You're going to be their go-to for every computer question from now until the end of time. So it's something that I love my family, but select people who have a more broad understanding of technology and are willing to learn, I'm going to help. It's going to be far easier helping those people. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Techno Dad is here. Techno Dad actually has some videos on this topic, right?
Oh yeah. Ripping Zidoos and Zipees and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Ripping it up.
AA actually brings up a great, hopefully I didn't over highlight something that you just brought up. He does bring up a great point, is we are the niche within the niche, or niche, or however you want to say it. I think we are. I don't think a lot of people talk about this stuff or care or I love the comments I'll get on video sometimes, like, who cares? Well, obviously you came here to say that, so I don't know.
Right.
I care. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's all a process, and it's what are you comfortable with, right?
Mhm.
Some people aren't comfortable, uh, you know, diving into mini DSP. They're afraid they're gonna mess something up. I get comments like that on tutorials all the time.
Yeah.
That's why remote calibrations are offered, right? Like I think,
Mhm.
oh, we got a super chat, Kevin. Oh, thanks, man.
Thanks,
Thank you so much.
Kevin.
Kevin Gardner, guys, here's all I can give. All talk about great high dollar gear makes me a bit sad. I'm lucky I just got a broken Vizio 4K TV I fixed. First 4K TV. There is nothing
Yay.
wrong with fixing stuff. Um, you know, because you mentioned high dollar gear. I want to take a step back and talk about my entry level speakers for a second that I mentioned last week. I don't have all high end stuff, right?
Mhm.
Like my speakers, like I mentioned, my center channel was I spent $90 on.
Right.
Pioneer Andrew Jones, the second iteration of those floor standards were $170 a pair, 179, and the back surrounds and side surrounds are all the BS22s. They were like $99 a pair. So like you don't need high dollar gear to have a great experience. Um,
Yeah, you do.
no, no, you don't. Don't let Trinov tell you different, okay? Uh, you need a $32,000 processor. Hey, come over here. Let me show you something. I don't know why I went like um super like Italian mafia. But yeah, thank you, Kevin. I just never apologize for the system you have because I guarantee you it's better than someone else's system.
Oh, yeah.
And someone else will look at your system and go, "Wow, I wish I had that." There's
There's
so many different levels, right? So many different budgets. What do you enjoy? Do
yeah.
you enjoy it? That's all that matters.
I
All that
still think
matters.
the majority of people are watching content using their TV speakers.
Agree.
It's just
Yeah,
it's just
I
how it is.
it is. It's it, and you know what? I feel bad for those people because TV speakers in general. mm,
They're so good.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy. Like when I was reviewing that Hisense U7H TV, I
Mhm.
was like, oh, I gotta use these speakers to give my subjective opinion on it. And my subjective opinion was they were poop. They are not good. Um, yeah, I mean, even a soundbar is a step up from most TV speakers, even a cheap
Yeah,
soundbar.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Techno Dad said, "I just hooked up my friend with a soundbar, and they keep saying thank you." Like, yeah, I mean, anything is better than TV
yeah,
speakers.
yeah. I think it's a combination of like the dynamic range,
Mhm,
the quality of those speakers that are put into the TV, um, the placement of those speakers in the TV because a lot of
mhm.
TVs still use it's uh,
Like
like
downward firing.
downward firing or
Yeah.
pushing it out like the back, and it's like
Mhm,
okay. And then I do notice like some TVs will have an option of like where like have you wall mounted the TV, is it standing on a stand outside of it, and so like it'll kind of, I guess they have like DSP that's kind of like adjusting certain parameters based on like what you set in that. um Actually be curious to measure like what that does, right?
yeah,
Like to see what's it do. Not that it would be usable either way, which is
sure.
why I was like, why is what was, I think it was Sony, right? That had their HTA9 system that could, if you had a certain Sony TV or certain Sony televisions, you could use the television as like the center
Mhm.
channel speaker.
Yep.
But I don't know like how well that worked, right? Like,
Yeah, I still need to do that test with my Sony TV and the bust out the Bravia Theater Quad again. Because yeah, that's at least on the list of things I would like to accomplish. So at some point, I'll do it.
I'll do it. So I'm googling something that somebody said. I just want to see. Basically, it was this one here. Odyssey has been worryingly quiet of late. No updates to multi-queue X since April of 2023.
It's
I think
because it's that good,
it's that good. Yeah.
right?
I think that they've sorry, I read updates as like, oh, there's not been a single update. And I was like, wait a minute, I've gotten updates to the program, but they're like, bug fixes and patches and stuff like that. I think he's talking about like actual feature updates or additions. Yeah, I haven't seen anything. I know their last major update added like target curves and stuff to that, right? Um, which was a great addition. But that was probably like 2023, which yeah, that's I've been playing around with that. They did provide me a license to that. And it's been great.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm still I got videos. It's coming. It's happening. I can't wait to be at a point where I have these videos out and I can actually talk about them. It's like, hey, go watch that video or whatever.
Hooray!
That's how I talk. Yeah. I just spit all over my screen here. That's great. So Plasma, hey, Plasma TV for Gaming is here. Welcome, Ariel. Ariel has another, also has a YouTube channel. He and Marcus, and myself actually used to stream together. Let's see here. I'm just going to explain quickly what ripping is. Is it pirating the movie? Technically, no, it's not pirating the movie. Although I think the studios would maybe say something else to that. Don't rip your own discs. So basically, you buy a movie, like a 4K Blu-ray disc, you put that in a drive on your computer, and you use software to make a lossless backup of that. Like they call it a remux. So basically, you're just taking the data from the drive, so the audio and video data, and chapters and subtitles and all that. You can select different audio tracks or have them all. And you just basically rip all of that into an MKV file or something else. You can also do like a full backup. I know Ariel, you're probably familiar with ISOs, or basically like it's basically a disk image. So you can make that as well. Something like the R-Volution will actually read that disk image and give you a menu as if you put the Blu-ray or whatever into your player. It's pretty slick. So if you want that option, but oh, it's not called a remux. So it's just a rip. It's just a rip. So
It's just a rip, baby.
I've been calling it a remux, man. I've just been hey, it's a rip. So basically that's what it is. And then you put it on either a server like Plex. There's players out there from like Zidoo, R-Volution, Dune, to name a few. There's many different options. So yeah, that's basically what it is. It's not pirating the movie, because you technically have bought the 4K disc. You're just making it a backup of that. So like a lot of people that I know would buy a disc, like rip the disc, so they could put it on their servers. They have access to it, and then they'll put the actual like disc and cover art and everything into storage.
Yeah,
like it could be at home in a tote or whatever. And yeah, Jeffrey, I that's what I've thought for a while, but apparently that's that's wrong. It's a remux if it's 1-to-1 quality to what's on the disc. But Techno Dad could maybe speak a little bit on that, because I think
when I hear the term remux, the most popular one that I've gravitated towards, pun intended, is Gravity. Taking the 3D version of Gravity and remuxing it with the Atmos track. because that version just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So you would have to remux it yourself to have that perfect version of Gravity.
Yes.
But
I've heard that called
I've
remux hybrid. There is something kind of cool that you can do that I don't want to really get into because it does. I mean, okay, so if you technically own the disc, right? Say you like Mad Max Fury Road.
yeah.
However, that movie is only HDR10 on the disc,
Mm.
right? So theoretically, if you were to maybe get a copy of that same movie with a Dolby Vision layer on it, you can actually combine the HDR10 disc rip with the Dolby Vision enhancement layer, and now you have a Dolby Vision version of that movie. So like it could be the Dolby Vision from the streaming, which typically the Dolby Vision, what the mucks is going on? So so technically you take the Dolby Vision layer from like a Apple 4K TV rip or something, and then kind of inject it, so to speak, into this. So now you have a Dolby Vision enhancement layer. It's something that Make MKV with the one of their later updates added. And it's also they also added the ability to I'm not going to use the technical, I can't remember what the technical term is, but like on some discs, so like there's kind of two different versions of like Dolby Vision. There's like what's on the streamer side, which is typically, I can't remember what it's called. Maybe Chana can chime in here too. But basically on like Netflix and stuff, when you stream Dolby Vision, it's kind of embedded in the video file. It's not like a double layer. It's like a separate layer. It's like encoded or like kind of embedded within the video file in that metadata. Whereas like on a lot of discs, it's actually a separate metadata layer.
Yeah.
And so what will happen is when you rip those and you have those two separate layers, some players like Plex on the NVIDIA Shield can't read those dual layers, like those two layers at the same time. So what Make MKV did was they allowed you to basically take that double layer and then kind of combine it with the single layer. So now, or combine it with the like the HDR10 layer. And so now you just have one layer of metadata instead of two. I'm probably explaining that wrong, but basically all you need to know is it takes the two layers, so Dolby Vision enhancement layer and the video layer, HDR10, and then it just combines them. That can be read by pretty much any like any media player. So like even like if you were plugging a drive into your your like LG OLED, it can now read that Dolby Vision thing. Because what would happen is like I would rip certain discs with that double layer, and then I go to play it on Plex, and it would just play back in HDR10, even though the disc has Dolby Vision. And what was happening is Plex wasn't able to identify that Dolby Vision enhancement layer.
Yeah.
And so going back, taking that same file, bringing it back into Make MKV and just like combining those two and then putting it back on the hard drive for Plex, bam, I got Dolby Vision. So that was a long-winded. That sounds like a lot. But guess what? If you get Kaleidescape, you don't got to worry about any of that.
Woo!
Hey,
Let's
I'm
play that
Casey
Kaleidescape fanfare.
Would you like a Kaleidescape? Well, the answer lies in a song from 1974. But
it's called K-Scape My Heart Away.
K-Scape My Heart Away. There's the K-Scape. Yeah. We need a deep fake Casey Kasem, and someone who could do a better impression more consistently. But yeah, I'm what I do love about like ripping your discs is and I don't know if this is something Kaleidescape offers, because again, I don't have Kaleidescape, is having the ability to have all of the audio tracks and like retain those when you rip the disc, right? So like I may not need like the Spanish track, so I may get rid of those or whatever other, because sometimes a lot of 4K Blu-rays or just Blu-rays will have language tracks that I'm just like, I'll never use that. I'm not going to use that. But you can keep things like the commentary track.
Oh, good.
You know, one of my favorite ways to watch like Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz is with the commentary track, because I've seen the movies, you know, numerous times.
Yeah.
And then having like an insight to how they filmed this or them talking about something that happened behind the scenes. I'm like, wow, this is great. Like it's something that I never thought I would I would say. I'm like, yeah, I'm in my 40s and I watch movies with commentary tracks on. It's enjoyable.
It is, though. Sometimes you get some really good insights on, you know, how they made it and behind the scenes stuff and stuff you wouldn't know otherwise. But that's only for you and I, because we're silly film nerds.
Yes, we are. Jeffrey actually brings up a really good point, and another benefit to ripping your own discs.
Oh, we'll see, Jeffrey.
We'll
Go
see.
ahead. Go ahead, Brad.
Um,
Let's read this.
so yeah, but if the commentary track is only on the Blu-ray and I want to add it to the 4K disc that doesn't have commentary, I use MKV Toolnix to mux it together. 100%.
Oh.
100%. So there was something that I did that too, where I basically muxed the Dolby Atmos track with the 4K video. I can't remember what it was, or maybe no. It was a remix that was done really really badly. Like the new mix was just poor, and I wanted the original from the Blu-ray, but they didn't put it on the 4K Blu-ray. I can't remember what movie it was off the top of my head. But basically I took the audio track from the Blu-ray, muxed it with the 4K, and then bam.
Oh.
Best of both worlds.
Yay.
Best of both worlds. Yeah, MKV Toolmix is an amazing free tool that exists. I use Make MKV and MKV Toolmix together for my disc rips.
What's MKV Toolnix?
So basically, it's a tool that you can nix with MKVs. No, sorry.
Thanks. That clarifies
Yeah,
it.
clear about everything together. No, so basically, it's a so basically, I'm not gonna. Maybe he's talking about this. I don't know. It's all about muxing super fast versus converting and no loss in quality. That's what it was. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting off topic here. War of the Worlds 4K. They filtered the bass on the Atmos track, so a lot of people remux the DTS. That's what it was. Because I remember watching the tripod emergent scene. I was like, what the fuck did they do to this movie?
What happened?
What happened? This is not like when the DVD I had that was just like DTS 5.1, not even MA, sounded better and like more visceral. Even when I matched the volume, I'm like, something's off here. So yeah, I did. I took the DTS HDMA track from the Blu-ray and muxed it with the 4K. So you get the better video and the better audio from the Blu-ray.
So make MKV is a ripper, but the MKV Toolnix allows you to mux things.
Yes. So basically, what the way I use it is I'll use make MKV to rip the content of the disc.
Right.
So normally with that, it's the entire content of the disc.
Yeah.
And then I will bring that file into make MKV Toolnix. Make MKV to combining them all together, and then that will allow you to select whatever playlist it is. So if it's a movie that has like an extended version, like through branching, typically they'll have different playlists with theatrical and the extended, and you're able to look at the time and be like, oh, that one's 20 minutes longer. Okay, that's the extended. I want that one. Or maybe you just go, I want the theatrical. So you can select which one you want, or you can save two different versions of it, right?
Mhm.
And then that's where you go in and select all the different audio tracks that you want or don't want. You can retain chapters, things like that. What's great is you can do some things on like make MKV beforehand, I believe. Like, you know, uh, I think it's an auto thing now where you can just take that Dolby Vision enhancement layer and bring it down to like a single layer in that process of ripping the disc. Um,
Yeah. Van Damage 87 says they did a similar thing with Edge of Tomorrow 4K. The opening scene
mm,
with the deep bass notes were also filtered a bit. So maybe it's just Tom Cruise. Maybe Tom Cruise is behind it.
it
It's a
could be.
conspiracy.
I think Kevin left, but he had a couple questions that I just want to answer because I'm sorry, Kevin. I got sidetracked.
Kevin!
Kevin. Um, let's see. He said, quick question. There it was. What TV character did Casey Kasem play?
Hmm.
What did he not play? Look,
Like
Batman,
like
it's
when
a
he's
message from the Riddler. And he writes. That's all I can think of is Robin from Batman and Robin from Batman.
oh yeah,
But the cartoon, not the live action.
right.
Wasn't he also on Scooby Doo?
Probably.
Probably.
He's old.
He's old. Oh, this is a good question. Hello guys, thanks for the show. Watching from Uganda, Africa. Well, welcome.
Hello.
I think you're the first person that has told us that. So thank you. Welcome to the stream. I wonder what's your next AVR if you're to upgrade. Um, that's a good question. Hmm.
I wonder what's your next AVR. Um, I mean, just in general, like, are you asking what you should upgrade to?
Maybe
What
it,
is your current AVR? No, I'm still trying to get the Marantz AV10 in my theater. I just sent an email today. We'll see if it works out.
hopefully, yeah.
So we'll see if I have convinced people at Massimo to have a little agreement there, partnership. What about you? I mean,
Um,
you just got your Denon not too long ago, but
about a year ago. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
that one supports front wides, or does it?
no, it does not.
Okay.
I also don't know if my room supports front row.
I
I
know,
don't
right?
know. It's a lot in that small room.
Yeah.
What I would upgrade to the biggest thing with this receiver, and honestly, it's not an issue anymore because I use like an EARC extractor. Is it doesn't have HDMI 2.1.
Oh
So
yeah.
um, basically what that means is like all of my HDMI 2.1 capable devices, mainly my PC and PS5 and Series X, get plugged directly into the TV. So I retain all of the video side features, and then I use that eARC extractor to get the like Dolby Atmos or whatever, um, multi-channel PCM if that's what I have the setting set to from the TV. The only thing I don't get is DTS because the TV doesn't support that. But I
Yeah.
don't really use any of my devices to watch movies. They're all for pretty much playing games and general web
Wow.
browsing and ripping discs. But yeah, so I like it. I tend to stick with the Denon Marantz line, but I'm not against going with something else. Um, I like I like the flexibility that you have with multi-Q X. And as I've come to start using that more and more, I don't know if like Dirac has the same manual feature set. So like I
Mm.
don't know if they allow you to bring in parametric EQs from REW into Dirac. I think they have to they want you to use their their own thing. I like that manual customization option of multi-QX. I know a lot of people maybe don't like Odyssey or for whatever reason, and those reasons can be valid. But in my experience so far, I don't know. Like I love with like Dirac that you can use like your UMic and stuff.
Yeah, true.
I have wanted to check out like the Anthem stuff, like the AVM, was the AVM 70 or AVM 50 or something. The lower end. I mean, even like the AVM 70, like I've heard amazing things with like about Arc Genesis, room correction. I think that, you know, outside of that, you know, using like separate amplifiers and stuff like that now, I don't know the major benefit. Like the main benefit for me would be HDMI 2.1. That's kind of like I know like it's probably the worst thing to prioritize when buying a receiver, because most people are looking like at channel counts. I'm pretty happy with where I'm at. My room is small. If I had a bigger room, that might be a different story. I might be looking at like front wides, you know, or you know, adding something that has the capability of doing like, I don't know, 13.6 or something, just to have flexibility in terms of like Atmos heights or whatever. But yeah, I'm not there. 11 by 12 room, it's kind of hard to fit, you know, 800 speakers in.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the goal though, 800. Basically, you know how you've seen like influencers and YouTubers and stuff that cover their walls with like the acoustic foam stuff that doesn't really do much.
Right.
I just want that in speakers. I just want speakers. Like I don't want you to be able to see the walls. I just want speakers. Just speakers.
That'd be cool.
It would be just playing constant like 10 hertz tones. So whenever you walk in, it just makes you uncomfortable.
What? Why? Why do I have a headache all of a sudden?
And I feel like I have to use the bathroom. What is happening? Let's see here. What we got? This is a good question. Michael Walker asked, have you guys seen the Zidoo 8000 Pro?
No.
I have not. Let's see. I can bring it up. I can Google it.
It can do 8,000 tasks at once in a professional manner.
Is it the? I hate having multiple tabs open, trying to figure out like where is it?
Oh no.
Boop boop boop. I'm seeing the 8,000. I'm not seeing the Pro. Oh wait, hold on.
Oh, is that a brand newly announced thing? Maybe so, since he says, "Have you guys seen?" So maybe they just made it known to the public. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it may. I mean, I didn't go to Cedia, so I know that they announced some things at Cedia. I know that R-Volution announced a new player at Cedia with their 8,000 or 8K Pro or whatever. It has like dual bays. It might be like a competitor to that.
Oh, probably. Yeah, because R-Volution and Zidoo right now are really like the go-to media players / ripping things, whatever. They're in competition. But that's good. We want competition.
Right, we do. Brad Jeffrey says, Brad, come out to Denver to help me recalibrate my subs. I'll need to attend M-Wave or an equivalent to know how much I'm missing out on below 16 hertz with my dual SVS PB2000 Pros and my small 7.2.4 theater. Just kidding, though. I definitely need to see some people's theaters local to me or when I'm visiting my family in Florida to see what I'm missing out on. I'm in Central Florida, Jeffrey, so
If
could make
your
that happen, make
family is
something
in
happen.
Central Florida, Jeffrey.
Yes, if you're in the area and want to stop by, we could probably make that happen if you want a demo.
Woo.
Oh, he says 8,000 and 8,000 Pro, same thing. So yeah, it looks like it does look. I mean, looks pretty cool. Here, I'll share my screen.
What's so 8,000 about it?
Can you see this?
Mhm.
Okay. So yeah, I love their website though, because it's like let's just information dump
Wow.
right here. But no, beside the point, we scroll down here, we can kind of see some more stuff.
HDMI 2.1.
Yep.
Title
So again, it
connect.
supports 8K. All of this stuff. Ooh, it's got a 3rd gen 16 cores.
It's got an
ESS. So it actually does have 2 drive bays, which I think is always a good thing. So you can have up to 32 terabytes of storage. So 60. I think they.
Whoa.
Oh, okay. So they support 16 on each. So
Yeah.
I know with R-Volution's new player, not comparing them to, well, okay, comparing them a little, that they just announced it has dual bays that each support 32 terabytes. So you can have 64, which is crazy to think about.
Oh my goodness.
I like that back panel though. Look at that. Oh yeah.
Oh.
Look
Look
at
at
this,
those
like turning
ports.
into turning into a weird live stream. So dual power supplies, which is great. Does it have a fan inside? Because I'm always curious about that. Oh, it has dual HDMI out. So if you have an older receiver that does not support, let's say, 4K 60 or 4K, you can have your main out to your TV. I used to do this like on my old receiver that didn't have that didn't support 4K, and then you just do the audio out to the receiver. So that's cool. I like having that. I like having that kind of legacy connection.
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, they even have XLR. Whoa. So I imagine this would be a great choice for music playback as well.
Yes.
Interesting. Oh, they even do the VS10 image engine. So that's actually a really cool feature that I use on the R-Volution. R-Volution has the same thing. So it's a great way. Basically, it's a way of processing the video signal. And what I found is compared to the even like a standard Blu-ray, and I've compared them back and forth between like my player and this, like on the same rip. If a movie has just maybe ever so slight banding on like the 4K Blu-ray player, this tends to like the VS10 image engine tends to clean it up a little bit and make that banding either disappear or less so. Because I don't know exactly what it does, but the thing is, it doesn't look much different, but the banding is pretty much eliminated. So banding is always just a pain in the butt with any type of video stuff. But yeah, accurate frame rate switching, that's always a good thing. Poster wall, interesting. Yeah, I would wonder, like, because I'm basically, we'll stop sharing there. We don't. I basically get to keep the R-Volution once I'm done with it. And it would be interesting to basically compare the two if I can get another one. Who knows?
That would be rad.
That would be. Man, I went over and like I don't know where I'm at now with comments. I'm like, what is happening? You ever do that where you're like, what's going on?
Yeah. Where are you at, bruh?
What's going on? But let's see. Oh, there's a question from earlier. Are you guys familiar with the Magnet Cinema Ultra 100 Magnet Cinema Ultra 100 speakers? Question mark. I currently have them and would like to know if adding an external amp like the Outlaw 2220 for the front stage will bring the best sound. I'm not familiar with those speakers. Uh,
Well, Daniel, if you've never had external amps until you happen to purchase the Outlaw, then yes, because Brad knows as soon as you add an external amp, it just sounds better. It sounds more dynamic. Your
it does.
headroom has increased. It brings out details you've never heard before.
It
So,
it's pretty I think this is what you're talking about here. Let me I'm sorry, I'm gonna get rid of your comments so you can see
ooh,
more. Um yeah, I mean, so in looking stuff up and talking to my friend Gene Delasala, I don't know why I said his name like that. He doesn't even talk like that. From Audioholics, having more clean power at your disposal is never a bad thing. Even if, like, let's say, for instance, my center channel can't handle more than 90 watts, right? That's what it's rated at, 90 watts.
yeah.
Having more power ready to you or like available to you and it's clean power from like a separate amp is never a bad thing. It can really increase your headroom, bring up the dynamics of that speaker more so than if you were just trying to drive 11 channels off of a receiver, right?
Mhm.
Even the best receivers can benefit from having external amplification. Not all receivers. I mean, it can also just depend largely on how loud do you listen, you know?
Mhm.
So like if you're constantly like minus 30, I probably wouldn't invest in an amp. Like you know, in my personal opinion, you're kind of wasting money at that point on an amp unless you can find
Yeah.
a good deal and you just want to do it. Um, Never a bad thing to add it, but it does. One of the biggest benefits to me of having an amp is having that extra headroom when you want a really immersive experience too. Not just the dynamics, but
Mhm.
let's see. Let's see.
Headroom. Headroom.
Okay, so Erod is here. Um, just bought a V slash Terra, so I think he's talking about the Kaleidescape, the Kaleidescape Strato V
Strato
and the
V,
Terra
yeah.
Prime, probably the server side.
Yep.
It'll take time to, but overpriced. It's cool, but overpriced is what he says. It'll take
Yeah.
time to forget what I spent and just enjoy the damn thing. Disappointed that not all um, VAR movies are VAR on it. Variable aspect ratio movies is what I think he's talking about.
Mm.
So, yeah, that's actually something that I have talked about with a friend of mine. The kind of crummy movie, Gemini Man. You know, high frame rate. This is not This is not VAR, but
Yeah.
it is not high frame rate on Kaleidescape. It is 24 FPS or 24. You cannot
Good.
get a 60 FPS version of that through Kaleidescape. You have to have the disc, and it's
Yeah.
basically comes down to the file that they were given.
Mhm.
And I don't know if they requested like a 60 FPS, but that's one of the alluring things to some people about that movie, Gemini Man or Billy Lynn's Halftime Walk, is the high frame rate. I'm personally not a fan of that, but I think that if you're paying a premium, then you should have multiple, like similar to how Disney Plus will allow you to select the IMAX enhanced versions of something or just
Yeah.
the regular.
Mhm.
I would hope that at some point with movies that have like maybe a 60 FPS version and a 24 that Kaleidescape would allow you to select between the two.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that would be the ultimate goal. Because why limit that? But honestly, I don't think it was them. I think it comes down to what the studio provided them. And I don't know if there was any dialogue between them and the studio going, "Hey, we want this," or if they just said, "Oh, whatever," you know, because I don't know the business side.
I wonder if you know, since a lot of the later MCU movies were shot almost exclusively with IMAX cameras, or at
Hmm.
least a good portion of those movies. I wonder if the MCU movies are IMAX aspect ratio on Kaleidescape. Because I know the 4K disc versions are not. So I would imagine Kaleidescape versions also are not. But yeah, that would be I would expect that too. If I'm paying a premium just to get into the Kaleidescape ecosystem, I would want to have those options to be like, yeah, dude, I have a 16 by 9 display. I want the IMAX enhanced aspect ratio MFR. So
Yeah, man.
just give me options.
Just give me
Give me
options.
Atmos or RO3D.
Give
Give
me it
me
all. I want everything.
yeah.
I want everything. And if you're James Cameron, give me an old version of your movie and not the AI enhanced version. This has been AI enhanced. That's a touchy subject. Let's see here. This is a conversation that's happening in the comments, but I'll comment on it as well.
Yeah.
So Michael was asking about Zidoo, and why is it better than Plex? Never heard of it before. So basically, um, the Plex is essentially just like a piece of software, right? That interfaces with a server or a hard drive, and it's like it's a way to view your collection, right? Um, the great thing is you can have multiple instances of Plex throughout your house through different devices, and kind of all works together. Um, and I know that there is a free version. You could pay for Plex monthly, or there's like a subscription thing. Um, what I found is going from like an NVIDIA Shield TV Pro, which is already like it's one of the cheaper entry points into getting into like a Plex system. It's not the best. I've had numerous issues with it that I've talked about on stream before, and I'm honestly thinking about making a video on like why I took the Shield out of my system. But going to something like a Zidoo or an R-Volution, you kind of have uh, a built-in media player that is like Zidoo has their own, R-Volution has their R video thing.
Mm.
It's similar to Plex in a way, um, in that it will pull info and stuff from the internet based on the data from the movie. So it's like, oh, okay, this movie is blah blah blah. It'll find the cover art for blah 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 and present it to you.
That's my
Um,
favorite movie.
I know blah 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 is great. What I found going from Plex to like the R-Volution, and full disclosure, R-Volution gave me the Plex, gave me their Player One 8K. Um, the the I can't say that I've noticed a massive difference in audio and video quality. Everything looks great. Everything sounds great. What I have noticed is the user experience has been a lot better.
Mm.
Um, Less issues, very few issues. There are some settings on the R-Volution that if you don't change them, it might seem like, oh, something's going on. Like I was having an issue where like if I'd pause a movie to like go to the bathroom and then come back, like I would go to play and it would just freeze and I would have to back out and start it up again.
Oh man.
And then I was just kind of poking through the settings and realized that it was set to put the hard drive to sleep after 1 minute of inactivity. So technically
Oh.
pausing something is a minute of inactivity. So I changed that to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So normally I'm back within 2 or 3 minutes. I press play. I haven't had a single issue since, and we watched multiple shows and movies since then. By the way, the Fall Guy we watched the other night, and I was surprised at
Ah.
how fun that movie was.
Yeah, I still need to see that. That's on
Yeah.
my list.
Great soundtrack too,
Yeah.
like audio mix. I still haven't watched Drive yet. Um, but I
Do
do
it.
but anyway, to kind of do it, to go back to what I was talking about, I would still recommend Plex to people like just starting out and they don't want to invest in because let's face it, an R-Volution Player One 8K is like $700-800, or maybe it's like closer to nine.
Yeah.
Not for everyone, where like you can get a Shield for $180, or there are other options out there to you. I think the Shield is often the go-to because it does support HDR10, Dolby Vision. Dolby True HD, Dolby Atmos, DTS:X, all of that
Yeah.
stuff that the Apple 4K TV doesn't support.
Mhm.
So a lot of people recommend the Shield for that very reason, is that it's a more capable player and supports a lot more. Like I said, I've had issues. Basically, I got to the point where every time I went to use Plex, I would have to just reboot the Shield if we were going to watch a show or a movie, because I just have countless like issues.
Yeah.
Could it be me? I don't know. I was playing directly off a hard drive connected to the Shield. Apparently, some people have said that's the reason.
Mm.
I don't know.
As
To
opposed to
me,
what?
playing over your network. So like
Mm.
if I had like something on like a NAS or a different computer, but I'm like I
Yeah.
wanted to keep everything contained there.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Michael, you're 100% right though. No doubt. He says, I'm just trying to understand the differences. There's no right solution for everyone. Yeah. I think it would be awesome if there was just like a one size fits all over like all of this stuff. But unfortunately it's like everyone's needs are different. Um, and there's pros and cons to each.
Mhm.
And I don't know. What I like about it is depending on where you are, what your budget is, you can have like a decent experience regardless. And I think
Right.
we're kind of at a point now where like and yes, Van Gool, 100%, we do need a new NVIDIA Shield. It's really amazing to think that a 6-year-old processor or a 5-6-year-old processor, essentially, if you guys don't know, that what's in the NVIDIA Shield, what's powering that is basically what's in a Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm.
We're playing 4K Blu-rays off of that.
Right.
So, I mean, it's slightly different than what's in a Switch, but it's an Integra chip.
Yeah.
Which is what's in the Switch, I think. Now I'm see, here's what happens. I I gotta wow, you know what I just typed in? NVIDIA Switch. That is not
That's the Switch 2 that's coming out. People don't even know.
well, NVIDIA. Yeah, it is the Tegra X1 video engine, and then let me double check NVIDIA Shield. Oh, let's see. Boop. Yep, processor NVIDIA Shield and NVIDIA Tegra X1. So yeah, what's great is speaking of Nintendo Switch 2, they're working very closely with NVIDIA again, which is actually exciting. We talked a little bit about that last week, of how like if they can bring a lot of their NVIDIA's like AI upsampling technology, we get better performance, better image quality, especially on like bigger screens, which is how I play. Yeah, I'm actually, what's funny is like I kind of have zero interest in the PS5 Pro in terms of like it's too expensive for me, and I don't really have a use for it.
Mhm.
But I think the Switch too, yeah, it just depends if Nintendo's going to be Super Nintendo and Super Nintendo. If Nintendo's going to be, if they're going to do their typical Nintendo thing and underdevelop, under manufacture their consoles,
Right. So
you're
they
not going to be able
sell
to
out
find
so
one.
fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like they create this kind of fake supply versus demand thing, and then you get scalpers that are trying to sell it for exuberant amounts. I mean, the
Mhm.
Switch was like that for a while, right? Like
Uh-huh.
it was, you couldn't find it. Um, but yeah, I really like honestly, I do still play the Switch. I mean, for Nintendo first party games,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, would I like better image quality? Yeah, sure. But I'm not their target audience. I don't think anybody in the home theater space is. But it'd be nice to have those features. Wouldn't say no to them,
Yeah.
you know? I never thought of running a Plex server. I'm sorry, I've been going back and forth. ADHD. It's a real thing. But I did not think of running a Plex server on a Mac Mini. Considering them, like I would I would suppose you wouldn't need like a super powerful computer just for a server, right? If you're not doing any encoding or transcoding, but even that like an M1 Mac Mini, has decent video transcoders in it
Mm-hmm.
and encoders. So, I mean, you can get like you could find the M1 Mac Mini, even like the base model, for like 350. Kind of might be a cheap way to go about setting up a Plex server.
Yeah.
I mean, you could also build a cheap PC, or get one of those little Intel Nux, little little ice cream sandwich looking guys.
Right.
I'm gonna build a Raspberry Pi system.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Do we have any? So I was going to say, do we have any more questions? And then Michael, like a ESP god from the internet,
Oh.
I have one. What is the best ripping software? I can't speak for everyone, but I use Make MKV and MKV Toolnix, and that is what that's it. That's all I use. I don't really use much else. Like I'm not some people want to do other stuff with their videos or whatever, but for me, using like Make MKV and MKV Toolnix, I can do everything I want. I can create little, if I know like the timestamps, or I can just open up the video in like VLC player or whatever on Windows.
Mm-hmm.
Find the timestamps for what I want, and then put that into MKV Toolnix and just save that out. And now I have like a little demo file that I can name whatever I want, put it in my demo folder, and I'm good to go. Yeah, I don't have any other preference really. I have heard of DVD Fab. But yeah, what is the license fee for that? I wonder.
$2.
Oh, I want my $2. I mean, what's great is like you're gonna get a million different recommendations.
Yeah, no kidding.
So it looks like $70. Oh wait, hold on. Oh, wait, no, I think that's maybe it's DVD Fab all in one. That's 270. I did buy Make MKV, which is I think $60. You get like a 30-day trial, and there is a way to like reset it, but I don't know, for the amount of time I use it.
Have you heard of this one? X Reveal. Van Damage is talking about.
No, I haven't. X Reveal. I'm gonna have to look into that.
If you want to rip the ISO or BDMV folder structure.
Oh man, they're so. You guys know in the everybody in the comments, Elon knows when you get into like kind of a set system that you do something a certain way, it's hard to break out of that, right? So like I'm looking at stuff, and it's kind of like getting out of my head when I'm doing REW stuff. It's like there are different ways to do this, maybe better ways. I need to learn it, but sometimes you stick to like what you know. Yeah, I'm gonna look at X Reveal, and he said it's free. That's crazy. Let's see. Joel actually has a question for me because I'm all about me. Brad, with your new energy amp, is all your great still on the same?
I think you meant gear.
So I'm gonna go with great. Is all your great still on the same breaker? Is all your gear still on the same breaker? Do you run a dedicated breaker switch? It is still on the same breaker. I do not currently have a dedicated breaker. Although this side of the house, so like the theater room is basically the only thing it shares is the it's kind of like at the front of the house, and the only thing it shares on the breaker is the guest bathroom. So nothing really. There's actually no vent fan in the guest bathroom, which I want to fix, because no vent fans in any bathroom. I'm like,
that's a crime.
When you design this house in 1994,
there's no window either.
There's windows. but
Oh,
like
okay.
there's a window, but I'd rather not open the window, and just turn the vent fan on. But the problem is there's not even something that goes to the roof. So like
Yeah.
I'll need to get up in the attic. I need to do stuff. Yeah, and it's like I could hire someone, but that's gonna be money. That's gonna be money. Um,
Yeah.
but no, to answer your question, I don't run on a dedicated breaker switch. Um, at some point, um, when we replace the panel and the wiring in the house, which will happen at some point, because I'm not sure how old the wiring is, and that's going to be a major cost, right? I'd probably have them run a dedicated breaker at that point, or a dedicated
Okay.
circuit, for that very reason. However, knock on wood, even playing stuff at reference with the 4 subwoofers I have, um, I've not tripped a breaker yet. Or
Woo.
so, um, typically, I'm not listening at that loud of a volume level. I'm normally at like around -10. That's about as loud as I listen, unless I want to demo something real quick. But yeah, it is a new breaker, so I don't know if that, like, I swapped the breaker out when I swapped out the HVAC breaker when that breaker failed.
Yeah.
Because that breaker was like the age of the house, which is like almost like 30 years. So I
Yeah.
was like, this breaker shouldn't be that hot. Ow, no. Um, yeah, that was fun. Just losing random AC randomly in Florida because your breaker is old and um can't hold it, can't like hold the circuit open anymore. It's like, all right, let's open that live panel and have some fun. Let's see. Joel actually asked same question to Elon. Dedicated breaker.
Uh, yeah. I mean, because since it was in the shed, when I built the theater in 2022, I made sure to have the theater itself 2 dedicated breakers. And, typically, originally, all the breakers in this particular panel were 15 amp, but I switched them out to be 20 amp. So that way they can handle even that much more current. And I split it in such a way to where the left side of the theater is on one circuit breaker and the right side of the theater is on another circuit breaker.
Oh,
So I have, because I have 2 external amps, I have one on the left side circuit breaker and the other on the right side circuit breaker, and then 2 subwoofers on the left and then 2 subwoofers on the right side circuit breaker. So yeah, I kind of try and divvy it up and split it up evenly
yeah,
with all the components. But even then, I know it's overkill, especially bumping it up to 20 amps. But I just wanted to be absolutely sure because you know, still a lot of this stuff is technically on long-term loan. I still don't technically own a lot of the stuff that's in my theater, so I didn't want to accidentally blow anything. So I wanted to take all the precautions and, you know, overdo it
yeah,
so that I didn't run into any electrical issues.
yeah.
And
Y-
it's works fine so far.
your theater room still doesn't have central AC though, right? Like you don't have any type
Correct.
of, man. I think that's your next upgrade. You should get at least like a mini split.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. That's my brother-in-law, since my
Oh,
theater is
right.
on his property, he's, thinking of selling his property or maybe just renting out his property, maybe, like, beginning of January, beginning of 2025. So, I may have to find a new place for my
Yeah.
theater sooner rather than later. But yeah, if anybody wants to donate a large shed to my property, then I will turn that into my theater slash YouTube studio. That'd be great.
There you go. There you go. Um, the check's in the mail.
Hey.
Let's see. Michael has a question. I got the what is your opinion of the AWOL 3500 ultra short throw projector? He says he's got the 3000 and it kept on giving him problems with it. When it works, it's incredible. I have it connected to the Nakamichi Dragon, which is fantastic to me. and it's given me no problems. Although I have ordered 2 new subs for $2,400 to make it sound even better. I don't have any experience with ultra short throw projectors. I know Elon, you do though, right?
Yeah, the only one I have reviewed on my channel is the 2500 from
Mm,
AWOL. Um, but yeah, I did. They also did give me the 3500, but there's I don't know. I don't want to get into this too much, but there's kind of this back and forth that he and I are having, my AWOL contact. So I haven't. I honestly don't know if I'm even going to do a dedicated review for the 3500 Pro. But when I hooked it up, because I have the floor rising screen.
mhm.
And when I project the 2500 and the 3500 Pro, there really wasn't that big of a difference. I mean, I think the 3500 Pro was definitely a little bit brighter, which it should be because it is brighter. But like just the overall quality wasn't like leaps and bounds ahead of the 2500. But I'm thinking that also might be because of that floor rising screen. I bet if I had one of their dedicated flat panels that just mounts to your wall, I bet that would have better picture quality with the 3500 Pro. So I don't know what screen you have, Michael, but if you have just the static screen, not the rolling one, um, yeah, I think you might notice a little bit difference. If you're just having issues with it, like it's like software issues or it's just doing weird stuff, then yeah, you might just want to get the 3500 Pro. Um,
He says he
just
has the floor rising screen also.
oh well, yeah. It's then yeah, if you're just having like bugs happening and stuff, then yeah, you might want to upgrade to the next best thing. Because that bugs suck. They can really bum you out and take you out of the experience if you're having to troubleshoot stuff. That's one of my
Yeah,
biggest pet peeves is like, I want to just sit down and watch a movie with my family and I've got to take 20 minutes to troubleshoot something. Oh, bugs me so much.
that's kind of what you like. What I was saying about Plex is, I don't
Mhm.
think Plex is inherently bad on the Shield. It's just my experience with it got in the way of me just enjoying the content, and that's really like I hated that. It's something like if I was like out of town or something, and my wife wanted to watch something, she didn't feel comfortable enough doing that, going in there with that. And now with like both the Sofa Baton remote and the R-Volution, it's just like it pretty much works. Like there's,
Yeah.
she knows what to do and she can actually use it. And I like she like knows that she can do it, and that gives her that confidence.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, we had a couple more questions, and we're wrapping it up here. Have you? So another one from Michael. Have you heard the Sony Quad Theater with subwoofer? I heard it sounds incredible.
Well, I do have a review on my channel, Michael. You can watch that if you would like. But it's, you know, um for what it's worth and the technology in it, it's one of the best standalone wireless theater audio systems you can buy out there right now. Um, the 360 spatial sound mapping is off the charts good. And but I mean at the same time, it's still, a wireless system. It's still in that same genre as a soundbar system. So you still have very small drivers that, if you're trying to push your system, you're gonna notice that it's being pushed
Yeah.
because it's those speakers are so small. So once I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with WiSA technology, but that's also a wireless audio protocol. And the difference is a lot of their systems, they just made they've just partnered with actual speaker companies like Bowers and Wilkins, I think, Klipsch, and they've just made certain Klipsch speakers or Bowers and Wilkins speakers WiSA compatible. So that's honestly what Sony needs to start doing. They need to go in that direction, take their incredible software, their amazing 360 spatial sound mapping, but somehow implement that into actual bookshelf speakers or tower speakers, but keep it wireless. So all you got to do is plug that tower into a power outlet, but still have, 360 spatial sound mapping. I think that's
Yeah.
the best way to go because that's just the limiting factor with so many sound bars is the footprint being so small and you can only make the speakers so big. So, as soon as they start just using regular speakers and implementing their wireless technology in them, I think you got the best of both worlds. But yeah, for what it's worth, the Theater Quad is one of the best sounding wireless home theater systems I've heard to date.
To date. And then lastly, where was it? Where do you live in the USA without central air conditioning?
Oh, well, no, I live in one of the most hottest. I live in the hottest place in Northern California. So, yeah, I spend very little time in that theater during the summer. If I do have to spend time in there in the summer, I go early morning and that's it. And I usually have a fan blowing directly on me, at least quietly.
Yeah.
I don't turn the fan all the way up. I keep it on its lowest mode and it's very close to me. So it's constantly blowing air on me.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, that's why I go in the morning because about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, that's when it really starts to get warm and I start to sweat. So, yeah. But, in the winter, I just put a bunch of layers on if I want to go watch something in the theater. So it's not too bad. But yeah, that's how I've survived so far with having no air conditioning in that theater.
Yeah, I can't imagine. It's not having central air in Florida would be pretty
Oh yeah.
brutal. Pretty
Yeah.
brutal. Well, I think that's going to wrap up this week's episode. Do you have any closing comments or concerns?
I think Kaleidescape is going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
They're not fully there yet, at least to break out into the market just whole hog where like everybody's like, okay, that's the amount of money I'm willing to spend. I
Right.
think $2,000 is probably going to be their golden ticket to
Yeah.
where they're going to get a lot more sales a lot more quickly. But it is combining the best of both worlds,
Mm-hmm.
taking the quality of 4K Blu-ray with the convenience of streaming, just being able to hop online and browse their library and being able to download whatever you want at the click of a button.
Yeah.
So I get it. And it's again, I like the idea of having that 10 movie revolving door concept. Because you're not going to need hundreds and hundreds of things at your disposal at all times.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, as soon as they bring that price down, as soon as they support our 3D or give you that option of our 3D or Atmos or DTSX, then it's
Yeah.
going to be perfect.
Perfect. I think if if I had something to say about someone mentioned earlier about the price of the movies, and they can be really expensive. Um, you know, the the idea I think behind it, and this isn't, again, I don't have a a foot in this fight or whatever the saying is. I can't even talk right now. But I don't have a dog in this fight or whatever.
Yeah.
All I could say is, you know, what their their main in their main competition is streaming services, so like Apple TV and things like that. Um, you know, when a movie comes out digitally on like Vudu and Apple TV, it's typically available on Kaleidescape.
Yep.
Um, it's normally $30 or $40.
Mhm.
However, for me and my wife to go to a movie theater to get popcorn, to get snacks, and all that stuff, it's going to be well into the 60s and $70 now.
Yeah.
Um, and we get to see the movie once.
Right.
And typically, we don't have a lot of good theaters around this area, so
Mhm.
we're going to get a compromised experience regardless, and we're going to have to deal with people constantly on their phones in the theater, which is just a common problem.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, okay, if we had a Kaleidoscape, spending 30 or $40 on a movie that we now own, because you're typically at that point you're not renting it, you're buying it from Kaleidoscape. I think they
Yeah.
do offer a rental thing, and then if you do like it, you can actually you get a discount on purchasing it. I think it's like the difference of whatever the purchase price is. Um,
Oh.
I think don't quote me on that, but again, I don't have a Kaleidoscape. But yeah, I think if that's an experience that you want, then yeah, Kaleidoscape offers it, but it does come at a premium price. You know, I'm kind of sick of I used to be like kind of a big complainer about it. But I know it fits a certain it's not for me in my current home theater state, I guess.
Yeah.
Um I think like you said, if they could bring that entry price down, um
Mhm.
you could get a lot more people. I just think it's just such it's viewed as such a luxury item. It's similar to like Mad VR, and it's like if you could provide something for those who maybe don't want to spend $4,000 on just the player, not even
Mhm.
like I mean, and let's be honest, 4 grand would just I know we talked about like only having 10 movies. I think more of the issue to me is that's $4,000 for 1 terabyte.
Yeah.
I would expect at least two, maybe four for that price. I know they use enterprise level hardware, which is typically more expensive.
Yeah.
Um, but they're buying this stuff at a discount anyway because they're buying a lot of it, right?
Mhm.
So I think that, if they could, uh, if the Strato V came in at 2 grand, I think we'd be having a different conversation,
Yeah.
but the fact
Oh,
is
yeah.
it's double that price. And I think that, I mean, honestly, 2 grand for an ecosystem like that. I mean, R-Volution is 900, $800 or $900, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't have an ecosystem. You can't buy movies. You got to rip everything.
Yeah.
Imagine if there was a system like Kaleidescape for double that price. I don't know. I don't know. Well, it's going to be an interesting next few years. If they could break into the more consumer friendly market than the ultra kind of uber high end market,
Mhm.
um, similar to how like with the Xbox, you got like the Series S for people that don't have like maybe not a lot of money or they just want to play the games. And then you have the Series X for the people that are more like kind of serious about it. They maybe have like a high end 4K display they want to pair that with.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of similar to that. Like they need multiple tiers of products to appeal to a wider audience. And
Yeah.
there's there's really nothing stopping them from doing that other than them not wanting to do it. So I don't know. We shall see. I'm really curious to see where it goes. Yeah, yeah. I'm just I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever get. I've not been contacted by Kaleidescape to check out their stuff. I don't know how that would work if I did. Um, to be honest with you, I don't know if it's something I want to dive into right now. And I might just say, hey, like right now, I don't think it's a good fit for me. Like,
Mhm.
it's cool, but I just don't know. It's always hard to turn down product reviews, but I have turned down product reviews for various reasons, right?
Mhm.
Um, Either it doesn't fit like my channel, like I'm not gonna review your rug, or
Right.
your resistance band set. Although I did get a very interesting one last week for a cold plunge. Some company wanted to send me
Like an ice bath kind of thing?
one of their $11,000 ice bath things
Oh my gosh.
and pay me. And I'm like,
Whoa.
I mean, it's not a good fit, obviously. And I think my in-laws were like, just do it and give it to us. I'm like, yeah. So, but no, I do turn down home theater stuff to review as well, because it's just sometimes it's like, oh, this is like I'm not gonna get $100,000 speakers in my theater because I don't want that liability. You
Yeah, no
know,
kidding.
like, oh yeah, these two speakers cost a third of the cost of our house. Like, this is what is going on.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had a lot of fun talking about this. I had a lot of fun banning that one guy. That was great.
I know, man.
It was so good.
Honestly, I was this close to doing it myself. So when I
Yeah,
saw that, I was like, oh.
yeah, yeah. What's funny is I didn't even mean to. I just kind of had my mouth, like my trackpad over it, and it just automatically did it. And I'm like, the universe has spoken. It wouldn't have ended well anyway for him. So
I know.
I was laughing because I'm like, have you not watched? You just joined. Like, he's obviously mad about something. But anyway, yeah, that's gonna do it for us. I think we're gonna try to do Thursday next week or Tuesday. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out.
Probably Tuesday for the next month.
Okay, Tuesday for the next month. I'm working on the Colin, the general manager for Appearing Audio, keeps asking me when he could join. So
Oh yeah, that's right.
in the next week or two, I hope we might have a guest from Aperion talking about not just their products, but just home theater in general. He's a cool dude. We talk a lot. And yeah, I actually have 3 of the Theatris T65s coming tomorrow. Tomorrow, and 2 of their high-end premium stands.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm very curious about. I'll be doing a separate video for those, because those are, I've never had $350 speaker stands in my theater. And yeah. And I think stands are very important, actually, to not cheap out on. But I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. That should be interesting. Anyway, yeah. Thank you guys for joining. Thanks for the super chats for those that gave us some super chats.
Yes.
Also, I forgot to mention in the beginning, but if you're listening to this in podcast form, thank you for listening. We appreciate you
Yes,
so
we
much.
do.
I know that if you can't join live and you can't watch on YouTube, or maybe you're working, or you just prefer podcasts, because I don't like looking at this face either in the mirror. I totally get that, but we appreciate you, and thank you everyone that just comes and hangs out and is decent to each other and has cool conversations and just enjoys this hobby, because we all do.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I will see you next week, and so will Elon.
Yes.
Yes.
Have a good week, everybody.
Yes. See ya.
Bye. Don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to get notifications. I wonder if anybody just sticks around for this. Well, it still says 28 people watching. Look at that.